Hey guys, I've become a podcast. Disclaimer, this is only my experience, and for this it's mostly solo queue experience because in the few tournaments I've played, I didn't play much Scorch apart from clams. If I said something you disagree with, feel free to debate me in the comments, but please be civil. Welcome to the first part of a multiple part series where I talk about Splatoon maps. This is Scorch Gorge, and I will be talking about it. Scorch Gorge is a classic story of missed potential. A stage that looked so promising in the reveal trailers, but over time got more and more restricted until the version we have the pleasure of playing on today. We could have had an open stage with many routes and options to push, but now we are left with a stage with uninkable walls everywhere, a great path that is slower in almost every single scenario, and a side flank that just gets you killed immediately if the other team is at all looking in your general direction, but even if it's used well, gets barely any use. Power clam jumps is the only real use I can think of, because in splat zones the flank is completely useless due to mid being walled in, and the tower in the middle being a very good vantage point. And in Rainmaker and tower control, the objective is normally too far away, not pushing towards the bottom right of mid. When the stage is open, and has routes to push and retreat and many places to move, it's a really enjoyable stage. However, there isn't enough time spent in those places to really appreciate it. Let's start with Turf War, my favourite competitive mode. Scorched Turf is strange. It weirdly reminds me of Museum d'Alfonsino. A boxy midsection that's almost completely inescapable once in it. A high point in the middle that, even in a fight in mid, gives no real advantage to being on it, but gives the one access point to spawn, barely used by people to retreat, but used all the time by people to infiltrate the enemy spawn. Infiltrating the enemy spawn is obviously not that big of an issue, but it becomes one when there is no easy way to stop them when they do. An inkable wall, a sponge, or even the ramp from other modes would work better. Splat zones. It's really bad, and by that I mean it's just the turf war layout with a zone in the middle. It's wrapped around the central tower, like the Inkblot layout, and similar to Inkblot, the winner is basically determined by who gets the first cap of the zone, allowing them to set up on the middle tower and get a perfect sightline over the whole map. If the other team does manage to retake, the whole thing starts over again, because they are unable to retreat due to the uninkable walls, and will mostly go 2, 3 or even 4 people down. I've never had an even game of Scorch Zones. Even in the challenge mode where matchmaking was more skill based, I either KO'd or didn't score a single point. Legitimately, if they put the zone on the Scorch Rainmaker layout, it would be a lot better, or even the Clams layout if they had to have the high tower. The addition of the ramp and the different grate layout would just make the stage a lot better, with different movement points and options to push. Rainmaker. The Rainmaker shield is in the middle, which forces the middle tower to be a lot shorter, because the Rainmaker actually has to get somewhere on the map, which forces the uninkable side walls to instead become a ramp, an immediate improvement. From mid to checkpoint, it's a pretty good map. Shield pop isn't actually that important on this map due to the size of mid and the cover there is, so you can hide from the explosion. Normally, there is a good fight in mid around the slightly raised area the Rainmaker is on, but when one team has an advantage, it's still all to play for, and not a complete steamroll. When pushing to the checkpoints, there are 2 paths, but I don't see many take the unguarded great path in battles. After the checkpoint, it becomes quite strange, going into a trough that's somehow bad for both teams. The path the Rainmaker can take narrows to one thin corridor, and also becomes an uphill section. But before that, there is a downhill slope from the checkpoint that's difficult for the defenders to move on, because it's a lot lower than the attackers, and can easily be camped, and the snipe point is either shot and bombed, or is too far away to get a pick if you have any less range than an E-liter. So for both teams, it's a difficult push that ends in one way or another in the Rainmaker being reset, because the attackers can't push up the thin slope, and the defenders can't get back into mid. Either that or solo queue teams aren't clever or something, I don't know. Tower control. It's a very similar layout to Rainmaker, minus the Great Bridge and the checkpoints. This is probably my favourite layout of Scorch, only for movement and routes. The tower gives a nice jump over to the enemy spawn area. Would this be a good time to say I know none of the callouts for this map? The paths are wide enough so it doesn't cramp up too much. There is one retreat option from mid, which is unfortunate because there are 2 attacking options, but it's not a deal breaker. The thing that makes this layout worse is the fact that it's tower control, so you get spooky attacking special advantage. So pushes easily go further than they should. It would feel so much better if it was easier to retake and would probably be in my personal map list, but the fact that retake is so difficult hurts it quite a lot. Clan Blitz, a perfect middle ground. The tower actually adds to this mode, allowing for good movement and flanks behind for power clan jumps. The ramp isn't too hard to push through, but isn't completely passable either, unless you have Kraken, clan cheese moment. The tower and bridge can be used to sit a crab or backline that has a sightline over all of the routes, similar to Splat Zones, but to a lesser extent because it doesn't stall the objective nearly as much. Where the objective can stall, however, is, as the problem is in most modes, the defending spawn. When the clam basket is broken and the attackers are throwing clams in, you'd think you'd be easily able to disperse them and stop them from scoring any more. Here's where you'd be wrong. The clam basket obscures the view of the people near it, who can shoot and throw bombs and specials at the thin raised platform. That makes it an unusable route unless you have special charged. The area next to it suffers from the same problems as Rainmaker. It's really difficult for the defending team to make the attacking team retreat without specials. This means a coordinated special push just to get the team back into mid, where they can just safely take space and build up clans to make another push. Overall, Scorch Gorge is so close to greatness. It's almost in my top 5, but there are just a few too many baffling map design choices for me to love it. If they changed the spawn, kept the sides open and the tower lower and made some of the uninkable walls inkable, or made new flanks completely, I would put it in my map list in a heartbeat. Oh wait, I forgot to do tricolour, whoops. Triangular Scorch Gorge is unrecognisable from the regular layout, keeping literally zero aspects of the original, instead making a Triforce map that on paper looks like a really cool layout, and then you realise it's only 1,449 points large, smaller than Mahi Mahi, and that a crab can reach the outer edges of the map from the middle. The layout of the stage itself is fine. 3 triangles for the bases, 1 for each attacking team and 1 for the defenders. The defenders' base being larger because there are 4 of them obviously. The entrance to the bases are open so everyone can walk in and have a very small place that the other teams can't walk on, making it easy to spawn camp. The small size of the stage does absolutely not help this issue. The time it takes to get from mid to the enemy base is shorter than most respawn times as well. The placement of the Ultra Signal is on top of a central pyramid. The pyramid itself is rather small but decently high with uninkable patches on it, easy for a tri-slosher to farm splats by standing on one side and sloshing over to the other. This makes me very happy because I play Tri-Niveau, but also makes for very easily broken pushes if the try is on the defending team. The meta for the map is basically tri-slosher, ballpoint, splash hydra and sea jet due to their range, objective cheese, and good poking over the pyramid. The stage isn't awful, just way too cramped and too restrictive in what weapons can be used efficiently. Okay, yeah, that's it.